Goodbye.
Thanks for coming by. Hope you enjoyed it.
Exactly. Welcome back to what will be a podcast episode when it goes out on Friday. But for you guys catching this live, this is part 2 of our Amber Heard breakdown. In that we've managed to find her, and she's been broken down a bit at a time. And that's precisely that's.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the courtroom.
Objection! Hearsay!
Testify!
So yeah, we're carrying on from the video that I made earlier, but with Adam having fairly stringent family requirements to attend to, he was unable to make it. So we are here, making ourselves useful, ready for now, and so just to kind of lay the groundwork for Adam's opinion on how it's going so far for Miss Heard.
I know what a credible source is, and this is what a credible source is.
She even sounds a bit like Amber Heard.
Oh, I love it. Bonjour, ça va? Practical Deductions here. Hey, Nicola. Hey, Ines. First time catching us live. He misses... Practical Deduction misses this. So do we. Well, that's not true. We actually do this. So we miss not doing it much. Well, not to be too euphemistic about the whole ordeal. Hello from Sweden. Nice to see you.
Hello for itself? Why must it get someone else to say hello for it? How rude for you.
Listen,
you owe Gabriella an apology.
One global concern at a time, right? Just one global concern at a time before we go stirring up trouble elsewhere.
Audio is low.
Yeah. Well, apparently that's been a thing off and on. Apparently, according to the guys that were in here earlier, it's not me. It's not me. Some guys on their devices messed around with their settings, and my sound increased. Everybody else in the stream could hear me, but the backstory to it is my microphone's in the post. It's not here yet. I do have a new one on the way. So for now, you'll just have to suck it up. Alternatively, you're more than welcome to watch any one of the other videos that exist out there on this kind of stuff. Not very often you'd hear people encouraging you to visit other channels, but there we are. I can't do anything about my sound at this stage. From the information that the guys were talking about on the stream earlier, apparently people have the opportunity to adjust their settings from their side. That might be non-required, sir. Non-required. That might be something that you can do. Just so you know. So, dude, genuinely, seriously, have you been watching any of the Amber Heard? Because I'm not even sure she's aware that that's who she's trying to be now.
I go to the View Cinema to watch it in 3D. I pay money for it.
Is that when the football mat was flying at you?
Be given. They can have my money. I mean, the most recent thing I've watched is her basically explaining how she would drop a present or two on Johnny Depp's bed. Obviously, replace present with something else. Mr. Whippy, basically. Reassign Mr. Whippy on Mr. Deppy's bed. She did it.
They've actually got to that point now. I've been avoiding all of the kind of 2 hour long videos of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you and I both know that the kind of tidal wave of TikToks.
Incredible!
You can't avoid that shit. No pun intended. Either.
Something to do with a dog stepping on a bee, and she breaks into emotion and. It quickly goes sideways, and then all these other people come in. My dog walked into a tree. I tripped on my cup of tea.
Oh, dude. It's
incredible.
It's just hilarious to me. It just reminded those videos just reminded me of, you know when you step on something like a plug or a bit of Lego or like a brick or something, and you're walking, all of a sudden your whole world comes crashing down, like someone's just turned a button. That's what happened. You go, and then but back to normal after the fact. You know, like my one when I kind of stand on a plug or knock my shin bone on the corner of the coffee table.
Oh, that's bad.
Yeah, my one is immediately I'll go from being normal to to this.
I'll sort of like, I'll take a few steps to process what's going on, and then it's kind of like sloth reaction. I'll just suddenly go, "Ooh, Buddha!" I'll sound like I've cursed someone from the opposite side of the room, and then you sort of stand, gain composure, and do something on Johnny Depp's bed.
I mean, who doesn't these stages? This stage, who doesn't?
Exactly.
So just to catch you up in terms of the video that we've seen so far, because we're gonna chop and change throughout this, and there may be a certain time just for you guys watching where Adam has to jump out, so he will bow out at a specific time, and then it'll just be us guys left. But just to catch you up, mate, in terms of where we are, we've dealt with several degrees of BS at this stage, several false displays. They've gone through her youth, her original meeting with Johnny, all the way up to the first alleged slap, where
from her,
when he allegedly slapped her. Yeah. But it wasn't. It went from being once, and then it went to twice, and then by the end of the story, it was 3 times.
Right,
which is hilarious in and of itself. But
it's a trilogy of lies.
But over the conversation, it was great. She said that when he did it the first time, she kind of shook it off as whatever. But the second time, this is when they were all kind of sat down on the sofa having a conversation. Bang, and it knocked her off balance, and then all of a sudden she's on the edge of the sofa. And then she went in for another one, and then now as part of the story, she's on the floor, and then on the next part one, she's looking at the carpet, and you're like, how is she moving? What is happening?
Is this Amber Heard in the multiverse?
That's the exact reference that I made.
Great minds.
Just the exact one, sir. So what we'll do is we'll pick it up from exactly where we left off previously, and we shall go from there.
Cool.
If this could catch up, that'd be a real treat for me. Thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Oh, of course, and as luck would have it, the adverts are right in there, right from the start. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So what I'm just gonna have a quick little sound check. Yes, marvelous. That's fine.
Let's watch some promotional plugs.
Honest, it's been a woman talking about Amazon and Audible all day. Here we go.
I was heartbroken. And I sat there for a long time, and I eventually turned the key and drove home.
And what did you do after that?
I don't know. I don't remember what I did when I got home. I don't remember. I went to my therapist. I told her.
Interestingly, at this stage, there's been a decided switch that's been flipped in terms of detail. Right from the previous moment, she's talking about what they were doing, the tattoo on his arm, the jar that was on the table, the slap, what she thought, why she thought it, where she went, what she did in the car, her breath on the window, and then after the fact, nothing.
Yeah, doesn't remember.
No, that's a bit of an odd change of pace. No, right? That's not to say that fugue states don't exist, and you can absolutely step into one.
Yeah.
but it's not as intermittent as that. If you look at the nature of what a fugue state is, it's following immediate trauma. Bang, you're into one. It's not when you sit there and pensively kind of play the whole incident back in your head after the fact. It is.
Yeah, sure. If you're going through the steps there and then you know it's not exactly a frozen moment, is it? It's pretty much thinking about it, and you're having cognitive reactions to what's going on.
Exactly, dissonance. Two separate ideas going through, and we could argue at this stage that the two separate ideas are one of the story that's created and one of the story that's actually happened, and that's where the battle is starting to occur, and that's where these filler words and the where this starts to occur in those situations. Good evening to the troops that have just joined us as well. Sorry, mate, what did you say there? I was
she pulling in whatever facts she can or truth from her perspective, mixed in with, I'm guessing, something to throw in there to make it, I don't know, more dramatical or make it seem like cohesive.
You got it.
What she's trying to do.
You got it. It's like it's one of the fallacies that of putting a good story out there that's seeped into the modern media, thanks to YouTube and TV and the like, is that a seemingly insignificant detail is the best way to put forward a truism, a true story.
Yeah.
Right. But the seemingly insignificant details of dirty carpets are of the jar, the tattoo, the inconsequential elements. Now, as Practical Deduction rightly states out as well, when you look back over the video of Dr. Hot Lady, Dr. Curry, she mentioned that that's her official title, by the way. Her official title. They're to kind of substantiate her evidence that she gave to why Amber does to some of the things that she does, in terms of her grandiose performance to kind of give credence to the words that she's saying. They will add in these specific details that seem completely unrelated.
Yeah.
Right. This is the fallacy of the situation, that there seems to be en masse out there in the ether, probably thanks to BuzzFeed somewhere. Yeah, scumbags. there is like a blueprint you can follow in terms of what makes a good lie versus what makes a good version of the truth, and you only got to check off certain boxes in order to be able to put any kind of story forward. Anyway, let's have a few more seconds.
Objection, hearsay.
I'll sustain it as to what she may have told her.
That should be on
went
a t-shirt
home,
for the
and
merch outside of the
a few
court.
days later started getting, I actually don't know how many days later, but I started getting calls and texts from Johnny, apologizing profusely. I mean, just, he said, I'd rather cut my hand off than ever lay it on you or lay it upon you, and he had that way of talking. It felt like poetry. And
how like, I know she mentioned having a blank spot beforehand, didn't know what to do, but she remembers like specific details on how he spoke to her afterwards, and also like these messages as well. Where are these messages? What's happened to them?
Everything so far has that's not, I mean, we're only an hour in, right? It's close to a 3-hour video, but everything so far has been her going, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened.
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing, which is weird given when the roles were reversed previously, that whoever said anything in favor of Mr. Depp, it was objection, hearsay, prove it, evidence. Yeah. So, there we go. Apparently somebody has Andy Signor or Signor, not sure how you pronounce that, from Popcorn Planet. It actually does have a T-shirt out there with objection hearsay. Brilliant, brilliant. But the reason that kind of commentary is slipping into the the kind of social lexicon is that there is a distinct lack of understanding of how to phrase questions from a legal perspective. Because if it's not phrased properly, they don't have cause to object.
I don't think this is what people think it is. I think it's actually there's a mum there with two unruly kids called objection and hearsay, and she can't control them. Every now and then, she just has to put them back in order. Objection, hearsay. Unbelievable. Sorry, Rob.
That would be from the council estate in the UK somewhere. That's definitely a kid's name somewhere. That is. But yeah, even so, the smile that she gave about how Johnny Depp spoke then, that was
poetry. Yeah.
That was not a mask. That was not fake. That came easy. That sat in the proper places. It sat well with the breathing and the relaxed muscles in the cheeks, right? That was easy cause. So, of what? Not that you've got like a laundry list of people that you could call upon who've experienced some kind of trauma in their life, but you would know of at least one, maybe.
Yeah.
Whether you know them personally or not, but you would know of at least one.
Yeah, of course.
What person who has suffered at the hands of somebody else is able to speak so fondly and think back so fondly at times that they're able to communicate that sincerely?
Exactly, I mean, how have they sort of like the fact that you've come to court? It must mean that obviously those memories have reached a certain point for you that this is now being dealt on a legal battlefield. So how can you still look back to those memories and recall it in such? I'm not saying it's impossible, but it must be hard to then look back with fondness, considering how far forward they are now with these allegations and these, her putting her story forward and her case forward. How has it not turned into something for her which is just ugly? And surely everything would have broken down from that. Anything nice that came within those periods of any domestic abuse, I can't imagine it would be good memories. Were there anything, little good things like he spoke poetry to or spoke in a way that seemed poetic? I would have thought that would have sort of dissolved into the ether of the misery of being, involved in a domestic abuse situation. But like you said there, something natural came through. And it's just like, well, how did you do that? Yeah.
So either one of two things, right? On the initial understanding of it, either one of two things. Neither of which are good for her case. Neither. Either it's the presentation of this kind of dissociative personality that she has, these kinds of disorders that have led to her being physically abusive. That has been categorically proven now, thanks to the audios. That has been proven.
Yeah.
Or she's making it up. Right?
What could it be? Yeah.
Come at me, lady on the internet. Where are you?
Just see two hands go around your face now. I never left.
Wow! We'll get that back. Good Lord. What happened there? There we go.
Amber's not happy with what you just did.
So, let's continue.
And he showed up to talk, like with the understanding that, he understood I could never forgive him and it was done. So I felt kind of safe and saying, okay, let's have a talk, or, we'll talk. I think I know I just wanted to see him, and he comes over, brings me gifts. He brought me a couple cases, actually, of that Vega Sicilia wine that we've heard about, which is a really nice, expensive wine that I could never, at that time, dream of affording, and we talk, and he tells me that he had put this thing away.
And that was an inadvertent pause. I didn't mean to pause it on what sounded like a kind of euphemistic halt to a discussion. What I don't understand so far, right? If you're at the position of her truisms, of her speaking facts, what I don't understand is why you would be needing to physically manipulate your own movements to facilitate a change within your body, right? To facilitate the struggle with breathing, to facilitate the shrink-wrapped eyes in water and moisture in that particular scenario, and why you would be playing to your audience the entire time. I don't follow that.
Yeah.
At this particular moment. So what we're going to do is we're gonna skip this on about half an hour. So what this gives us the chance to do as people readers, as readers of physical movements in line with verbal content and anatomical changes, we've got a built set of details within our head at this time based on how she's doing things and why she's doing them. Now, we are skipping out a degree of data, but we should take that into account when we're moving forwards, right? That there may have been changes, so whatever we comment on moving forwards will be only on what we can see at that time.
Yeah.
So
Alex Silver's got a good point, hasn't she? She's very focused on things: books, wine, dresses, horses, carpets. They're like,
oh God,
reference, aren't they? For it.
Software's freaking out today. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. One sec. Here we go. Let's just resolve this right now. Let's take a few moments just to resolve this detail that's going on my side. We'll do that. Right, we'll do that, and there we go.
We'll sort it up. God.
We'll come back, and there we go. Right, we're back from outer space. I just walked in to find you here with. Never mind. So that's something else.
To find Amber with that look upon her face.
Well, there we go. So we're gonna have to go to about. They've clearly broken for some kind of break, recess, whatever they call it. Everyone's gone out for a quick go on the swings. So let's go from here.
Just imagine this very serious court case followed by the judge, Johnny Depp, and Amber on a three-way swing.
Female presenters don't stand like this.
Okay.
Well, now we know.
Thanks for your time.
Okay, great.
Just at that person.
Yeah.
Is that him who just crossed the courtroom?
Here we go.
Yep.
Is she back? She's there. Typical despondency, right? She's had that look sat upon her face the whole time. Despondent, disconnected, right? Which does happen. Happen in trauma cases, right?
But then performs well when speaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There is the revivifying that would go on. To however a minimal degree, depending upon the work that you've done to try and get past that. But there is the revivifying of elements, which is why speaking about him in a positive light would be a struggle, right? Would be a struggle. Any one of the particular exes of mine, of which you are familiar, I could tell you about positive things, memories that we had, but by no means would it be would it be in a positive light. I could talk about nice places that we went, things that we did, but when it comes down to a human connection, it's a different connection. Right. Here we go. Is she still sat? Okay, there we go. Oh. Last one to her feet. Not that there is anything particularly significant in that.
But it's something. Could be something.
But it is something.
Yeah. He's more a roundabout guy.
People in the comments going to town on the swing set reference. I only meant that it was another kind of
All right, thank you. Please be seated.
word for recess.
Your next question.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You saw the cartoon Recess, right?
Yeah. Good old Recess.
Good old Recess.
I love that show. He's
And
dead.
I'm going to take you up to March of 2013. Can you describe your relationship with Mr. Depp during that month? And we'll start there.
I remember that was after a period of
Did you see anything of her psychiatrist, psychologist that was up before her? Did you see anything of that?
No, I haven't seen a psychiatrist.
No, I haven't seen the videos, but I've seen photographs, and she had notes. Now,
I've heard of this. I've heard of the note taking.
the people within the American legal system will have to correct me because I am unfamiliar with practices there. You're not allowed notes. in that, it's like bringing in a script.
Yeah.
No,
There could be anything on there.
anything at all. Anything at all. It's like walking in a bias at that particular stage, which
Absolutely.
I don't.
I want to know if that's been allowed. What was the reasoning for it to be allowed?
Exactly, because
Why
there was a
forward for that.
there was a girl in the previous round who was thrown out because she'd seen a couple of clips, a couple of TikToks, I believe, on the trial.
Right.
So
yeah,
the possibility of bias rearing its ugly head. However, notes were allowed.
Yeah. Does that make you a credible? Well, I think it's in the.
Yeah, that should take away from your ability to be an expert witness because it speaks to your bias. Which, if somebody wants to pursue that further, you could start to question the nature of perjury. But there is a definitive degree of bias in that scenario. Definitive.
Yeah.
Because again, I've not watched the testimony, but to the best of my knowledge, based on the article that I read, and it was only one, so make of that what you want. That she'd not interviewed Johnny Depp at all within the context of their relationship, and then she was there speaking to the veracity of Amber's statements. You any person in their right mind should, in my bearded opinion, go, well, that was lovely. That was a great bit of time you've taken. Let's just throw that away because that was completely irrelevant now.
Thanks for that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's the only legal term that I like. It's fruit of the poisonous tree. Technically speaking, it ain't within this scenario, but I like it as a term. So here we go. Let's go on for a few more minutes.
really it was after a period of some peace, and then in sobriety. Johnny was sober, drinking Beck's, and my dad, who was struggling with alcohol and drug addiction at the time, had fallen off the wagon, and I remember he said, "Why don't we I want to send a picture to your dad of support," because my sister was upset with my dad, and so he poured a shot and kind of said, "Let's take a picture." I don't drink spirits, but I know that, I kind of held up in that picture. It's kind of eerie because I just think it's bizarre. He had broken this long period of sobriety that I thought was going to be the end of him drinking forever.
What are you making of that so far?
I think that's very strange how it's sort of like it's broken up kind of storytelling. But again, back to I know the point maybe was in the comment about the specific thing about what he's drinking, Bex, like how like like coming up with this. She's got this vivid memory, but at the same time, it's sort of like a little bit fractured all over the place. But she knows about he definitely was sober then. Dad was having issues. Where sister was at mentally, but the story itself, all the connecting elements to it, it's just like, and I just thought, and it's just like, well, where's that cohesive performance before? Where's that just like that fluidity gone? It's just completely now out of the window, isn't it? It's almost like a struggling performer, like a bit of improv going wrong.
Yeah.
Might not be. But
no, 100%. And that's people reading in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Might not be.
But
we can only deal with the information as best we can and take it as far as we can. If it were an exact science, there'd be an equation to it, and there ain't.
Yeah.
So we've got to deal with a bucket load of information. That's why we develop memory palaces. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Link in the description below. Subtle, right? I thought that was subtle.
What do you make of her sort of that story yourself? Like, does it add up to you? Does it?
Well, there's many things. There's many things going on, right? So you can track the exact nature of when she moves these muscles here in relation to when she's talking about the stronger males in her life, and I don't mean physically, but I just mean prominently stronger. In her life, her dad and Johnny, each and every time they're referencing some memory or some relationship or some connected thought that she's having, this pops up, right? And there's been discussions of her being abused by her dad having issues with drink and drugs, which has led to her having similar things, and the breaking of this cycle, or at least the attempt to, with these scenarios. But the whole nature is just covered in overly descriptive narrative that doesn't really fit within the context of the question, right? That's my concern, because it's stepping back into Dr. Curry's analysis of hyperbole, of over-dramatization, and these grandiose performances that kind of acquiesce the personality issues that she's having in here, right? So,
oh, excuse me, sorry.
Exactly. That's arguably the allergic reaction to the bullshit that you're having to see here. That is what's happening.
I know
is what's happening. Yeah, that's what it is. He's put some cocaine in his tissue so he can kind of use the sneeze noise as surreptitiously to try and get it in there quickly.
I've got a lot to get through. I have a jar full.
A jar of dirt, as it were. A jar of dirt. But again, there is the authenticity of emotion leaking through in certain stages, in terms of how she feels in a hierarchically a higher position towards her family and her sisters. You can see that in the contempt displays. You can see that in the performance towards the audience, and you can see it in the please believe me elements that are starting to pop up. You can't see both of her hands in this scenario, but you can see one move. But you can see from the clothing on her left arm that it's moving in tandem with it as well. So you've got this kind of symmetry begging to be believed in terms of an emblem towards her behavior. So pretty much everything that she's said so far that we've seen as part of these streams, we can go, well, that can be broken down in this way. That can be broken down in this way, which means that this didn't happen. And when you can do that, with any kind of story, that doesn't speak very well to the authenticity of what it is that you're trying to communicate. I'll give you two initials of somebody that you will know. I can give you four, actually. just so you can have a better understanding of what I'm trying to tell you specifically, personally. Either DA
Yeah.
or KP.
The cap. Yeah.
Right? Now these were stories that were rife with particular moving parts. They were told in a chronological order. They were unnecessarily made more out of to add color, to add purpose. These are the guys that I don't know how familiar the Global's audience will be with this kind of way of storytelling, but it's 11 Arif. If you went to Tenerife, the place in Spain, these guys would have been to 11 Arif. Right? These are the type of guys that bought $50 shoes from a shop one week. The next week they tell the story it is $60. The next week they tell the story it's $100, and the cashier came onto them. Right? These types of things. There is the the proverbial drinking of your own Kool-Aid, which leads to a consistent change in story over and over and over and over, which we have seen here the whole time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Here we go.
It's not to say that nothing.
Sorry, go on, mate.
It's not to say that there's nothing that what she's saying is grounded in some sort of truth. There could be little elements, could be big elements. It could be one specific element. Yet the stuff around it now, it's turned into a kind of the boy who cried wolf situation, hasn't it? Like, so
Exactly.
with the amount of shit that she's sort of, claying in to the sides of the rest of it, you can't really pick out truth. You wouldn't know anymore, and she's making it harder for people to see that.
Exactly. So you're doing yourself an injustice.
Yeah.
If your story's true. Go on.
Has I noticed her positioning remains the same. I haven't kept too close an eye on it because obviously a lot of things are happening with the face. But from your perspective, is the posture playing a part in this at all?
The physical posture.
Yeah.
Massively, mate. Massively, right? You think about it this way, right? I don't need a make and model, but the kind of chair that you're on, does it have cushions? Does it give a bit? Does it spin?
Yeah.
Right? So that will facilitate a degree of physical comfort.
Yeah.
So if you were to sit in a particular way whilst you're talking, we do these 9 times out of 10. They're at least an hour. Most times, right? If not shorter, if not a little bit longer at times.
Yeah.
So there will be moments throughout this, and I encourage you guys to pay attention to this moving forward, where both of us will move. Right? I know I do this a lot, right? Because this is a wooden chair. Those of you that take classes with me and such, you'll know that I refer to this as the chair of despair. In that it is the most single uncomfortable thing I've ever sat on, save Lego, and that time I did a broken glass walk with the handstand thing from the Deductionist.
Sounds like a really cruel version of Mastermind, the chair of despair.
Like there's a really horrible downside if you get it wrong. But there'll be a point where, regardless of your mood, right, regardless of whether it's pleasant, positive, negative, tired, hungry, whatever it is, you have to move to assuage the kind of fatigue that your muscles naturally develop at this stage. So what you do to modify that more and more is you encourage in more movement, or you encourage more freezing. More tension and release markers. So what you're doing is you are physically modifying your behavior. You have to take in line physical structure, height, weight, freedom of legs. I don't know if you're able to put your legs out underneath. I can't quite tell from this angle. But the fact that I weigh more than you means that if we were to sit on the same chair, statistically, I would move more than you because there's more pressure on my muscles thanks to the extra weight, right?
Right.
So in terms of how her structure is here, that is physically altering her mood. Or she has something that she's trying to communicate, so she is physically altering it herself. The example I use, exactly, and in either scenario, it doesn't speak to authenticity.
Yeah.
Which is what she needs. Which is
Yeah.
what she needs at this moment. So, like, you know, when you come in from a day at work and it's been particularly full on for whatever reason, I'm sure you've had at least one, and you know when you walk in the house, there's something you need to do. Whether it is you need to cook tea or I don't know. I'm trying to make up your house routine. I don't know what your house routine is, but there's something that you have to do. What it is when you come home, right? If it is that you
I come home down.
If it is that when you come in and you sit in on your sofa and you just go, ugh, and you let everything relax, it's so much harder to then get back up and get going again because your body has followed suit to your thought pattern. Right?
Yeah.
If you were to sit down and just hold your back straight, it is easier, not that it's easy, but it's easier to change your emotive state, your physical state, because the two are working in line. What we're seeing here is somebody that's actively taking charge of the moves that she makes in order to either stay in a specific emotional state that she needs to be able to give the lines on her script, give the lines on her story, or she is modifying that emotional state because she knows she has to take it places later. Right? Yeah. If for anybody, if you want to look at the actor's way of doing this, An Actor Prepares by Stanislavski, or look at The Theatre of Cruelty by Antonin Artaud. It was a wizard in terms of French theatre, but in terms of how he would be able to get his actors to be able to do certain things by modifying what their bodies were able to do. That's why it was called The Theatre of Cruelty. There you go, a bit of bloody culture for you. A bit of bloody culture. Anyway, let's keep it going. A few moments, and then we'll wind up with your final thoughts.
Sounds foolish now, but I, held up this kind of glass with him, and we sent the picture to my dad because, I didn't know what else to do. And I remember thinking it was weird that he was drinking, and then the month got really crazy from that point on. It was a bit of a revolving door of accusations. He was accusing me of having affairs with, frankly, just one person. I had an acquaintance with somebody, and he was accusing me of being with them, and then he was accusing me of being with my friend, the one I had seen in Spain. I'm in these kind of arguments, nothing I do is working. Walking out of the room is me leaving him, walking away from me, hey, where are you going? I'm talking to you. That it went from that to pulling me in by my arm, still shouting about the accusations. I'm trying to diffuse the situation by trying to tell him I'm not sleeping with this person and I'm not sleeping with that person. And it was...
You make of that?
I mean, it's almost like the theatre faces, when like the happy and the sad. She looks one way and you think like all the expression she does where it's like disgust and everything, and then she looks the other way and she's in like the bright light as if she's looking up towards, I'm assuming, the judge. It's sort of like, and I'm doing this and this, and then he's done this and it's causing me this, but I try this and this, and it's just like it's a very kind of strange show going on here, a little bit Punch and Judy. But what's going on? Again, though, the specifics of like stuff like that, I feel like with her remembering all details of what type of drink he's got, the name, the brand of the drink, what month that he's sober in, what the dad's like, and why he's sober, but she can't seem to suddenly it's like she's kind of passive about other elements that she's bringing up. Like, she's just like, oh, I'm trying to, and it's sort of not really as, clear cut. Yeah. And those are the moments that you think would stand out the most, the bits where you are trying to sort of diffuse a situation. Surely those are the highlights of an argument where, you would attempt to say something, or you attempt to bring it down a notch, or it's got to a point where it needs to come down a notch, not the other little bits. Now it's just sort of like, it's kind of like she's reeling off what she's trying to get out there, what she tried to do that looks good for her. I tried to diffuse, I tried to do this, I tried to do that, and you can't tell what she did or didn't do because it's just sort of very vague in terms of how she's putting it out there. About you?
all that needed then, by the way, was Jim Carrey from Liar Liar going, and the truth shall set you free, because that's precisely what it is, it is. And I'm glad you brought in comedy and tragedy phases. I mentioned earlier her control of these muscles in the side of her mouth, and it creates that image perfectly. So you encapsulated that spot on, mate. But you're dead on. It's just, well, like Alex says in the comments, it's just a hot mess of things that are happening. Did you catch the moment where she said it was accusing me of sleeping with one of my it was an acquaintance. I wasn't a friend. I barely knew them. So what? They saw me naked, and we played horses.
Horses on the car.
But
the giraffe who came.
Right. Now this is classic in terms of abuser, abusee. I know abuse victim. I'm not sure abusee is the term, but hopefully you know what I mean. But in terms of the details of how the abuser would try and twist storylines around, twist them to try and make the victim in the scenario think that they are losing it or seeing things wrong, or it could have been this way, whatever it was. In terms of, I was just here with my acquaintance because of all this, that, and the other. You know, have you seen the story? I was looking for some TikToks. Tanya earlier in the stream, she mentioned that we should have a look at the my dog stepped on a bee.
I tripped on a cup of tea.
Yeah, my dog fell out of a tree.
I fell into the sea.
Yeah, exactly. There was one I saw that then goes, Jimmy Savile shagged me. In that scenario. But when
Johnny Depp did Pirates of the Caribbean 3. Why?
Oh dear, it's it's just a mess. It's just a mess in terms of what it was, right? So there's the backtrack of the element. There's the catching. There's the fear. There's the modifying what you're doing. But there's the twisting of storylines to try and make it suit different areas that are happening at this moment. Because if you look at the details and the confirmation elements, we could argue that there is a particularly significant reason why James Franco and Elon Musk aren't testifying.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, being the ignorant public, I would argue that we won't be privy to the exact specifics of why.
Well, to be fair, I don't think Franco can do with any more sort of publicity for his wrongdoings at the moment.
And the truth shall set you free.
We need Do Franco next. Not like that, but we need Do Franco next.
What, just for payback? We'll get him.
Yeah, we'll get him.
Right, so long as we have a conversation about which end is which, then that's fine. I don't mind. We can discuss that as it goes.
When do you want to be?
Yeah, so I'll come back to the base here just for a moment, and then we'll go back and we'll finish the rest of the video for the other guys.
Let's do it.
So what do you think is going to happen here moving forwards in terms of her performances? There's a few guys in the comments stating that day 2 is just insane in terms of the detail. This was the most requested video of her trial so far. This is why I did this one. So how do you see it going moving forwards based on this?
I can imagine the grilling coming next, and that's her next film. But I can imagine it just sort of like, that performance completely going out the window. And once the questions come firing in, we're going to get that Amber who's either what you see when she's not speaking, where it's just silent statue sort of sat there one-worded answers, or it's going to be a very kind of like ignorant performance, you know, like if they mention certain things that require specifics, she's going to be like, yeah, that kind of fractured answering again, not really necessarily giving anything with any clarity. Or it could be kind of like, you know, when she's before making out that all the things that she did in certain situations are not necessarily addressing what was going on during an argument or going on during a very vital moment where evidence would be needed. I can see her going into that sort of role of, you know, like I was trying to diffuse and trying to, you know, as if trying to shine a good light on herself from that point forward. It's going to be closed off, or it's going to be, you know, oh, woe is me kind of shindig.
Yeah. Do you see the truth being set free?
From her, or
yeah.
I don't know. I can see her messing up. I can see her like fucking it up somewhere along the line. I don't necessarily know she'll ever be as honest about what's gone on. And again, like it's saying before, we don't really know now because of all this stuff she's coming out with. She could actually say something that is very true. She could relay an incident that maybe has happened and that was probably very important to her case. Yet because of everything that's happened now, whether it's my bias or whether she has lied or whether whatever other reason has got itself in the mix, you won't be able to tell. There'll be a bit of a conundrum there, won't there? How do you pull anything from that? And then what you've got left, if she was innocent and some of this is true, it's a bit of a tragedy because it's just sort of, you know, it's gone a bit south for her. What can you say? But at the end of the day, there's just things there, isn't there, which are very, very questionable, and I don't feel it's necessarily as, you know, as black and white.
No, it's yeah. I mean, I agree. It's kind of like collected wires that you would not really be able to pull apart unless somebody steps back and goes, look, right, this is what actually happened. Apologies for the circus that we've put you all through.
In
that particular moment.
Sorry, do you think she's going to go from you know, trying to win the case to trying to save her career? And will you see a definitive line of when she needs to change her act?
I can't see any being able to be completed because primarily there is an egocentricity about her displays that cannot be refuted.
Yeah.
Right. It can't be. So for either one of those to happen, you would have to admit defeat.
Yeah. Right.
And she's pushed forward so far, despite so many voices going, well, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, all of which refute your claims. You know, did you hear the story from Kevin Costner?
No, I didn't know Kevin Costner was involved.
it's kind of a side thing, more of a character element. Because she was. This is the story that I came across when I was looking for videos earlier. Apparently, Kevin Costner has stated that she kind of threw herself at him naked in a trailer once on a film set in order to further her career.
Well, that is a you know, they don't teach you that in theatre school, I don't imagine.
Right.
So if would have something to say about
it. Exactly. And you go back over everything that's happened so far, you look at some of the things that she's saying, it can, based on information and evidence that can be collected, I don't know if it has, obviously, we're not involved in a case, but it can be collected, point towards her being the perpetrator of the things that she's talking about.
Oh, God.
right? Because she said earlier on in this video that Johnny playfully lifted up her robe that she was wearing on a film set, and she had like this kind of 50s lingerie on the set of the Rum Diary. Right, if you look at all of her reported confirmed escapades that she got up to, it speaks to quite the contradictory.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like me talking about the best kind of razor to use to shave. Right. Clearly,
Yeah.
I shouldn't have an opinion on that.
It'll be very, very plain sailing for her soon, isn't it? With certain facts, it's going to be pretty much like, well, you can't really get away with that one anymore now, because you've already mentioned it. I think as well, the fact with how much she's coming out with, this is the most we've ever got in terms of a celebrity unloading their personal life. Beforehand, she had the benefit of the doubt because a lot of it was still being withheld. It was kind of like, word of mouth from other people. I've heard this about what Johnny Depp's done. I've heard this about what Amber Heard's done. And you could still stay pretty ambiguous about it. But now she's put her side out. And that's where it could like properly trip her up. Because like I say, just like as soon as the curtains are drawn back, you've got nothing to hide behind, have you?
Exactly.
So he's pretty much just going to be like, well, what do you do? Pretty much like, whatever you've said is either going to screw you over or it's going to help you. And so far, truth or not, you screwed yourself over. It's not
Exactly.
looking good.
This is what I mean in terms of the DAKP. Prime examples, and everybody else, you will be aware of somebody that is in your kind of orbit that does this, will talk themselves into a problem, as she just did, of sleeping with my friend, acquaintance.
Wait. Going on about expressions, Craig just put something brilliant in there, basically saying she's got the amount of expressions that a Rubik's Cube has with its faces. Paint her face on each side of a cube and mix it around. Guilty face.
But that's the thing, right? That's the thing. If you are a mess emotionally, as she stated many times, there is an inability to control the many differing emotional states that you slip into, which she has no problem controlling these differing times that she get, no problem whatsoever, right? When something is authentically felt at your core, if you are a mess in your core, you can't control what these elements are that you are moving into and where this story is going to take you. But it's well within her remit. And I'm pointing like everyone can see. That's where my TV is. That I can see her.
She's over there. Ben's in the courtroom. Everyone's gone silent, and they're just listening to this.
So, what we'll do then, if day 2 is the fancier one, guys, let us know in the comments now. Just as we're discussing about this, do you want us to come back and look at day 2 after the fact? Or do you want to keep pressing on this one and finish it off? Let us know in the comments now. Now to start breaking it down, right? But if it is that we're going to come back, what we should collect, and by all means, mate, jump out at any time because I know you got to go.
I'll jump out now. Then I'll just say goodbye while I'm taking the break. It has been brilliant, and I really hope that inform me what happens. If she's guilty. And there's a season 2, let me know. If there's a Pirate 6 on the way, let me know as well.
Will do, brother. All the best.
All right, guys. See you later.
See you, mate. And I booted him out. He's gone. He is out of here. So what we'll do there is we'll do that and just come back to me, right? In this particular situation. Day 2 is better. Both. I like it. Okay, we'll keep going. We keep going in true game show host style. I've started, so I'll finish. Here we go. Let's see where we go to from here. Oh, everybody, there it is. Perfect. So you're back to just me There we go. Everybody having more than enough viewing at my favorite wedding picture. There you go. That's one of my wedding pictures, free of charge. OK Magazine were not interested in the deal. Here we go.
Kind of, as soon as it seemed as though I had convinced him of one, there was somebody else he was sure I was sleeping with, and it was a revolving door at that time. A painting I had hanging on the wall, done by my ex, who's an artist. That was one day he was convinced that was proof I was sleeping with her or having an affair with her. I didn't really love him, and all the while I'm madly in love with him and trying to convince him. So March started with this picture of him doing
further credence towards the tactical elements that abusers can use to twist a story, right? There's nothing to say there, and she's not even denied it. Let's just state the obvious there. She's not even denied it, that she was sleeping around or thinking and feeling and doing these things. She's just stated the indignance that she felt towards the accusations, which, if you've ever watched any kind of talk show in your life, to give you a cavalier example of what happens when people are caught cheating or accused of cheating in this way, you get straight into the, I wasn't cheating, how dare you say that of me? The lie detector says you were cheating. Oh shit. Right? That's predominantly what happens in the face of arrogance and ego, to try and double down, to try and cause a backdrop in their confidence.
A shot, and he's kind of saying, let's send it to your dad to show support. And what I remember of March is just like it's almost like it was a never-ending fight. It was just, there were breaks in it. What kept me in it is because I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, the sobriety shoe, if you will. I kept waiting for...
You can see those eyebrows pulling back in again now that the story's being directed back towards him.
Anymore, and he's done with it, and he's ready to get clean and sober again, because there commences a period of like pure joy. And it was one fight after the other. March.
So let me start with the painting incident. Please tell the jury what happened on that particular incident.
Please tell the jury, not the court, or not the judge. Please tell the jury. Tactics, tactics, tactics.
With the painting.
As I mentioned, the painting, which had been hanging there for months, one day he kind of stayed up doing cocaine, just drinking, doing cocaine, music, which is not in and of itself that weird in my relationship with Johnny at this point. Like he stays up and keeps...
Further highlighting her position on genders in that scenario. Staying up all day, doing cocaine, drinking and playing music, not weird. Crying, weird.
Weird hours and smokes and stuff. But he was drinking brown liquor and doing a lot of cocaine, and it was like, it became clear to me in that argument, if you will, that he wasn't making sense. He had effectively just taken, it seemed like, a turn and had decided that the painting was an offense that he could not forgive me for. It meant I was having an affair with my ex-partner, with whom I had already split, and it made no sense to me. So I'm trying to kind of quell the accusations by saying, it's been there, and what are you talking about? And it's like, that doesn't mean anything. And, he was demanding I take it down. He eventually takes it down and tries to burn it, but it was unsuccessful, luckily, because he was not, he wasn't, with one of those normal, what do you call them, Bic lighters, he wasn't very successful at doing it while drinking, to the extent.
But you can look at the attempted conveying of disgust the whole time, of the anger, but further to these pressing in that she's doing between her legs at this moment to try and take up more room, which is having that effect of moderating her breathing. But also, when you look at the performances of trying to come across as coy, there is this notion of the sweet, believable princess. There is this notion. But if you look at thousands of hours of CCTV footage of those that are about to commit larceny, first thing they do, drop their shoulders, hunch their head, and bring them round. Try and take up less room in the scenario, because there is that growth of doing something wrong coming forwards.
He was, but I remember it was this kind of ridiculous fight. Like, didn't feel like it needed to be an argument, but it seemed like nothing I could do, nothing I could say. I tried leaving. I left the room. I left the house. I eventually came back. It was like a whole night, an evening, a night, and then a morning of this.
What we'll do is we'll skip on a little bit further. See when anything's got particularly reactive. Let's go forward to 2.5 hours.
Until he couldn't support it anymore.
Oh, there we go. It's kicking off a bit. Let's go back. Oh, we must be under the inevitable muting.
Female presenters don't stand like this.
I mean, that's terrible in terms of presenting. Is he saying female presenters don't stand like this? Or is he saying female presenters don't stand like this? Stenographer going wild in the corner. I'd love to know how to work a stenographer keyboard. It looks incredible. But even so far, right? All we've heard that can be taken away from when you take over the coloured arguments from either side is that there is a degree of paranoia that comes along with drug use that's certainly being fueled by the actions of another, and there is no physical abuse that's taken place during those moments of arguing in that one that she's described.
In June 2013, how were you feeling about your relationship with Mr. Depp?
May we have the exhibit taken away from...
sure.
Thank you.
By June, I was so torn. I was so in love with this person. Because when it was good, it was so good. You've never felt love like that. At least that's how it felt. So much.
I just thought I would try and pause it on that tragedy photo that we spoke about.
I felt like he recognized me and I recognized him, and there was just something there that was the love of my life. And he was. He was, but he was also this other thing. He was also this other thing. And that other thing was awful thing that would come out. And
now, if you look at the nature of the congruence that you can try and communicate as part of your non-verbals, awful with time your breathing is just awful at that particular stage, because that's the thing that you're looking to highlight, right? This is some of the things that that actors are, however talented they are, this is some of the things that actors get paid to do. to highlight the proper points. This is what I mentioned earlier. These are some of the things that you have to keep track of when you're looking at both parties, in order to understand where their truest sense of the story is coming from. Now, it's been driven higher in terms of animation as part of her speech, right? There is the continued modification that's happening. There's the continued forced breathing that's happening to try and give that labored. And if you noticed, physically speaking, she moves closer to the mic each time when she does these types of concerns, each and every time, which I find interesting. And at this stage, if you close your eyes, it sounds like crying, but if you look, there aren't any.
Take over, and it was, you couldn't see the Johnny I loved underneath it. It was this other thing. And
Carefully chosen words to try and paint him as more of a menace, monster, that kind of thing, not some other person, right? Regardless of whether that's chosen or not, right? It might be coming out naturally, but that's the direction that she's going in here.
no one told him. No one was honest with him. No one, you know, he'd pass out in his own vomit. He'd lose control of his body, he'd lose control, and everyone would clean up after him. I cleaned up after him. I mean, this man lost control of his bowels, and I cleaned up after him.
What better way to try and still demean somebody else in that particular scenario? That kind of stuff has no relevance. It doesn't. Other than to detract from somebody else's character.
His security cleaned up after him, changed his pants in front of me. He would pass out in his own sick. You know, and then he'd walk around saying he didn't have a problem. Until he did. Until he couldn't support it anymore, and he'd get clean and he'd get sober, and then he was this thing again. This thing that made me feel so loved, that made me feel like my soulmate, as cheesy as that sounds.
Change the breathing, move back. Still falling in line with that bass line.
I just felt like he knew me. And I recognized something in him, either some part of my makeup and my background or something, that I just got it. And I loved him and understood him. It just got so scary, the other part of him. And in June, I wanted to leave him.
Film lines coming up?
I didn't want to leave him. I wanted to leave him. I wanted him to get better. And he expressed to me so many times when he was in that period of getting clean and sober, he would tell me, "You saved my life. Baby girl, you saved my life." Everyone else was saying that to me, and I believed it. You know, if everyone else was saying it, he was saying it. I thought, just like his other friends who had gotten clean and sober and stayed that way, his older friends, these rock stars that he hung out with that had gotten clean and sober and they had 20, 30 years, something, you know, I thought.
This is an overly prepared, overly dramatized speech full of unnecessarily hyperbole and carefully plotted points to highlight with physical emotions, which is the same thing somebody does with a script. So, there's somebody in that scenario being an actor, which speaks to a disingenuous story that they're telling. Story isn't the best word that I could have chosen. A disingenuous recollection of events that you have created.
And Johnny told me he would be that person, that he was going to be that person, and I believed it. I had so much, I looked at that man.
Just to mention a comment as well. Scary how easily she lies, isn't it? She's dangerous. It's scary how easily she lies with no apparent compunction, but there's no monitoring of what she's saying. So she will talk herself into trouble. That's something that she will do. She'll say something or do something because she's so invested in this storyline that she's created, and there's no ego, no inner voice. Sorry, there is too much ego, no inner voice to stop and go, whoa, 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 slow down. Let's think about what we're saying. She's in the zone. She's in performing zone.
And twice my age, you know, I was 25, looking at this man twice my age, and I saw hope and like promise. I had so much hope. You know, the whole thing. Kids and growing old together, sort of hope. If it was just for this one thing that he could do, which would save his life, which would be to get clean and sober. And I believed it. And I wrote this letter to myself, among many letters to myself.
Objection, hearsay.
All she did was refer to that she wrote it. She isn't saying what she said.
I'll overrule for that.
Thank you.
Okay. I wrote that letter because I thought it would be read to him. I could read it to him. I could say it to him in intervention, you know, in help. And he would later thank me for, as he did, as he used to thank me all the time for saving his life.
Did there?
Where your story goes off, and we called that back to earlier, when she starts to modify, when she starts to lose her way, when it gets out of control, when she talks herself into trouble, when she starts to have too much anxiety, she goes back towards the lawyer, drops the head, uses the eye blocks, uses the hair to her advantage in this scenario too. Not that the hair is tactical, I'm just saying you can use that to your advantage in terms of something else to hide behind.
Come a time later in June that you finally met Johnny's kids.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I finally met them in the summer of 2013. I had been with Johnny for over a year, maybe like a year and a half at this point, is my best guess. And I was dying to meet them, you know.
If you are that fastidious about detail, why are you guessing about the time that you're in a relationship? Query plot hole number 312 so far? I mean, who knows at this stage? I've lost count.
Dying to get to know these kids. I felt like I knew them already. I had his daughters, and Jack's, both of his kids' art on my fridge, and I had never even met them. You know, Johnny had brought them over one day and kindly given them to me, and I had them up on my fridge because I felt like I knew them, just how much he talked about them. And
this is another displacement tactic, right? If you look at, if you listen to that speech again with your eyes closed and then listen to it again watching, there's no connection to them. She either hates them or knows that they hate her in that scenario. So what she's saying there isn't true. There was a distinct lack of attempt to hide the true sentiment of what she was feeling there.
I finally got to meet them at the Lone Ranger premiere at Disneyland. Summer 2013.
Unpopular opinion, I actually really like The Lone Ranger as a film.
So then I'm going to jump to, and it's not much of a jump, to June 26, 2013. There was a plane ride to Russia with Johnny. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Well, tell the jury about that particular event.
Well, that was the first and last time I ever decided it would be a decent idea to do drugs with Johnny.
If you look at the relative explosion of blink rates and eye behavior there in terms of the movement as well, the dissuading of growth, the kind of early Al Jolson talkies-esque notion to how fast these are going. First and last is completely untrue.
I did MDMA with him on the plane, which was as stupid as it may sound. I just had never, I was very against, obviously the cocaine had been a problem. I was very much against him using cocaine. I was against the drinking, supportive of the sobriety, but I'm 26 maybe, ish.
Keeps bringing up her age so very often to try and push this opinion that she's led into doing these things. She's the Ross Geller in this scenario. I was tricked into all those things because I'm so young and impressionable.
And I wanted, I had never heard of anyone making MDMA like what I had done MDMA before. I thought it's a lovey drug. It's it's like a kind of, I never knew anyone to get violent on it. And, I thought, well, this is a relatively contained environment. Maybe this will be different. Maybe I can be a good cop and be part of the, I don't have to be the lesbian counselor all the time, as you would say. I can maybe be the fun girlfriend. And I learned the hard way that was not happening.
So what happened?
So much asymmetry to the movement in the shoulders, so much this kind of displacement of energy that's growing and discomfort that's happening in terms of the words that she's having to say. It's not a real clear-cut sign there. Let's check the wrap up. Let's move it a few minutes on. Here we go.
Taking turns jumping off the edge of the yacht into the water, and then he, at one point, kind of throws himself over, and it looked a little scary. The way his body fell into the water, and Lily Rose started to cry and expressed to me that she
Objection
was
hearsay.
upset.
Sustained.
You can't say what she said. You can tell expressions or observations, but you can't say what Lily Rose said.
So Lily Rose is crying, and then the crying becomes like a panic, like almost like a panic attack, like rapid breathing, crying, lots of questions. And I'm holding her, kind of comforting her, and Johnny comes in, and within a few seconds, I realized that he, kind of shifted his attention on me, and then he seemed very angry. He asked Lily Rose to leave.
He hates the fact she's talking about his kids. Look at that pain.
Lily Rose leaves, looks at me, leaves, crying, and Johnny, I don't remember the words he used, but starts accusing me of kind of like telling on him and calling him, a drunk in front of his kids. I hadn't done that. I was actually trying to protect Johnny. It didn't feel like my place at all to share that with his daughter or anyone at the time, other than adults who might help with it, but not his kids. So I was trying to tell him.
So much leakage going on from here and coming back to her home base for comfort in this scenario. I can't be as sure about the deception in this in this particular sentence, but it's certainly, if we were to put a number on it, kind of 60-40 in favor of untrue. If we were trying to be as fair as possible towards the non-verbals that are being shown.
I was just trying to comfort her. I was trying to protect you. He basically was accusing me of doing this thing and of making them aware of his that he was drinking again. And he slams me up against the side wall of the bedroom of the we were in the bedroom this whole time, but up against the wall of the cabin, and slams me up by my neck and holds me there for a second and tells me that he could fucking kill me. And that was an embarrassment. I was embarrassing.
Look at the blink rate. Virtually non-existent. To hold eye contact, to maintain, to check that these points are being made, that these points are being understood, that this sentiment that I'm conveying is there. It would be like me going, it would be like me saying, now, listen. Right? There is a gear shift in that particular statement. And it's forced. It's communicative. Because if you are as an emotional mess as what you purport to be, the threat of death is not something that you can take lightly. This speaks to the control that she has over these apparent emotions that she's so uncontrollably feeling.
It was embarrassment. This whole thing was a joke. It was all embarrassment. I made him feel sick, and I'll never forget. I'm very, very, very much in love with this whole family now. And he's saying I'm embarrassing to him. And that somehow stuck in me more than the I could fucking kill you. It just sounded like hyperbole. It sounded like something he was just saying, but the names that he was calling me, well, kind of just pushing me up against the wall by my neck, you know, it hurt my feelings. It hurt. When I communicated when I saw Lily Rose again, we get, I won't say what she told me, but the next thing we do is
Just to jump in, Gabriella, all the best. Take care.
We call for a helicopter to come and take us off of the boat, or off of the island. So we leave the boat.
Christine, all the best. Bye-bye. Go
to the landing of a part of the island, or maybe it was a different, island we had to get to leave, and we take off. I'm holding Lily Rose literally holding her under my arm while she's crying, and we're lifting off. And Jack ended up not coming with us at the last minute. He stayed behind, and we were taking off. And I remember being really torn about leaving. I felt bad about leaving, even though that had happened. I still felt awful leaving. I felt awful leaving him. I also felt like I had done something wrong. He was mad at me. I wasn't sure.
She has no idea where this story's going. The one that she's telling. This is, if you notice the filler words, they increase each and every single time. Right, I am one for my own filler words in terms of these types of things that occur when I have 3 or 4 things in my head that I want to try and say out loud. But when they start to enumerate more and more and more and more and more, as you talk about the same thing more and more and more and more and more, you have no idea where this is going. This is what I mentioned earlier, rearing its head in terms of talking yourself into problems and talking yourself into situations when you're clinging at details. In this particular time. So yeah, I mean, all in all, not a good start for Miss Herdface McGee. Not a good start at all. So I'm far too many things to enumerate at this particular stage, but if you've caught the entire couple of streams, well done you for sitting through all of that. but you will now have a huge line of information in terms of how you can look at the days moving forwards, in terms of how to best pull apart these stories, how to best pull apart the stories within the notion of context, how fast her emotions shift, where she's moving within the chair in relation to physical changes, and all of these other elements that keep going through that. So with that in mind, guys, I am going to love you and leave you, and I will see you next time for another version of this whole scenario. So yeah, thanks for your time, thanks for your interest, thanks for your patience through all of this, and I'll see you all soon. See you later, guys.